Welcome to Warcraft Reloaded, a podcast brought to you by Mash Those Buttons, covering World of Warcraft Classic and its community. I am Bobby, also known as Blazin' Bob, and today, first off, we're joined by Classic Go. How you doing, brother?
I was wondering if you're going to get the transition. Usually you go right into, we're joined with Mel, a.k.a. Mel Arena. I was like, is he going to call me Mel?
I'm a professional, Go. I'm a professional.
Yeah, you nailed it. I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me back.
Always good to have you back. I talk to you all the time, too, so it's kind of hard to... Sometimes I'll have to re-bring up something we've already talked about, because we hang out quite a bit in game and do weird things.
Yeah. I know. I was trying to think earlier. I was like, have we talked about this? Can I talk about this today?
Yeah, you just have to be like, did we talk about it on the podcast? That's the most important thing.
Yeah. Because I think it's only been like 2 weeks since I've been on.
Yep.
Back with Scotty. Yeah.
Yep. And I was going to do... This is a weird week because the Super Bowl and everything, I was going to do a hardcore episode, but it was last minute. I've been really busy rating on 2 characters, so getting guests, I'm like horrible. It'll be like Thursday, and I'm like, oh crap, I haven't lined up a guest for this week. When before I usually had weeks in advance set up, and so I tried to do a hardcore episode. I wasn't able. I really want Nom Nom on for the hardcore episode I'm going to do, and I want Winky probably too. So it was too short notice for him. So we're looking at maybe getting him week after next, because next week we're having Simonized, and then I don't know if somebody else will join us or I'm not, but looking really forward to that. But for today, the show is going to go as this. Me and Go are going to, we're going to hit off start of the show stuff, and then we're going to talk about a little bit what we've been doing, besides Ulduar, and then we'll hit up on some of the news. There's one piece of news I think is really important to talk about, and Willie recently, just yesterday, did a video pointing out some really scary things for the future with this piece of news. So we're going to talk about that. And then here in about 50 minutes, Yip and Mel are going to join us for the raid progression section. And I know you guys in the YouTube comments seem to think Go is a super hardcore player, but he's, right there with our guild and, current progression on hard modes. So he's going to join us for that. I think it'll be a good addition. Our guilds are very similar in how we've gone about it. I think you guys did do a little bit of PTR, but not as a guild. Like some people in your guild did different PTRs. I know you did a lot of pugs.
Yeah, it was the main thing for the PTR for us was our raid lead was in there, and he did like a 25 man, and I think we had like 12, 15 of our guildies in there. It only ended up being like 2 hours, so we got 5 bosses in with the 25 man, and then we did a 10 man the second round of PTR, and we had like 6, 7 of us from the guild, same raid lead in there, and we got a little bit further, but yeah, we didn't clear the PTR. We did 0 hard modes in there. Yeah, it was not too much PTR, not as much as I would have liked.
Gotcha. Yeah, I would love to do PTR, but I'd only love to do it with the guild. Like, I don't want to do it with other people, like I would do it if I was invited like by Jordy or Sarth or, Simon. I've done that, a few times. I did that a lot in the beta. I play a lot of the betas, but not a lot of the PTRs going into the next tiers. And yeah, I don't want to do it with pugs, but I'd love to do it with our guild. Our guild just doesn't, it's just not that type of guild, and we, say what you want, but I mean, we didn't PTR at all. And, we only raid 5 hours a week. I think we've done really good for the amount that we've had, and I think we've had more fun than other people that are just nailing it, because they spent, Fusion just on Algalon spent like 24 to 36 hours total in just the, not even a week, the PTR span. So I mean, say what you will. I think we're doing really good for our prog, and we get to work on something new every week, which is so much fun. Like, it just changes up, what we're doing every week, and it makes it, I think, more fun.
It's kind of weird too, because I think we're progression path wise, you and the guild I'm in are pretty close, and yeah, we're having the same thing. It's like we know ahead of time. It's like we're gonna try hard mode this week, and then next week, depending on how it goes, we'll add in these 2 hard mode bosses, and yeah, it's been pretty cool. And then even starting off with like doing it in 10-man the week before. So it's like we get a hard mode prog on 10-man, and then the next week we do the hard mode prog in 25-man. And that's really been fun.
Yep, we're doing the same thing. I don't want to give up too many spoilers, because we had some good success this week in the 25-man, and the 10-man groups had a lot of success in the 10-man stuff. And yeah, you guys, just a little little something to look forward to is the whole Mel's the best and Bob you're wrong comes into play this week, because we were in 2 different 10-mans, if that gives you a little hint of what's to come. Oh, feels bad, man. Feels bad. All right, well, I'd like to start the show off by thanking our tank patrons. We got 4 of them now. You guys are kicking ass. Thank you so much. We got some new other patrons of other levels. Support's coming in, guys. Thank you guys so much. That's patreon.com/Warcraft Reloaded. I think you can go to warcraftreloaded.com/Patreon. But yeah, we got Thick Lizzie, Croxford, Braxton, and shit, I was supposed to look up how to say this. Schildkrottenwoll. I should know how to say this. It's my name, Schisler. What the heck? Oh, did I just doxed myself? No, you could find my name everywhere. I think it's on the web page, but yeah, should know how to say this. But I will make sure I know next week. I'm so sorry. All right, I'd like to mention we stream live on Twitch at twitch.tv/BlazinBob. That's BLAZZINBOB. I'd like to encourage you guys to get some guides from Rested XP. You can go to warcraftreloaded.com/RestedXP, and even the add-on snob himself, Classic Go, found another cool feature in Rested XP just the other day. You want to tell them about that, Go?
I had drinks that night. Remind me what it was.
We were flying on flight paths.
Oh, it gives you a timer. Yeah, when you hop on a flight path, it tells you how long the flight's going to take. So you can be like, okay, I got 1:42 to go from Crossroads to Thunderbluff. Let me go use the bathroom real quick and come back, and I won't miss out on anything. Especially on like a hardcore tune, it's like, I mean, you're not going to land in a deadly spot, but usually you want to be at your computer at all times when you're playing hardcore. But in a flight path, you should be fine.
Yeah, and we talked about that after getting off a 12-minute flight from we did a mount run at the Magister's Terrace dungeon for the Hawkstrider, and yeah, we didn't have Hearth up, so we had to fly, and we were like, let's just fly to Ironforge. Yeah, that's a 12-minute flight, guys. Just heads up. So yeah, we got there right as our hearths came up, so we might as well have just farmed, like because those TBC mats are still worth money. Like if you have an enchanter, because Mongoose still sells, by the way. So yeah, our friends, just to shout out a podcast I've been really enjoying recently. I know this is a total tangent, but Mere Casuals. It is freaking hilarious. Now, I'm not telling you, unless you don't know a ton about the game, you are not going to learn anything. Like, you don't learn from here, right? Much. Like, we don't know much here. Like, you're not going to learn there. But boy, you're going to enjoy your time. Like, they have a person who just like, the girl on the show, she's super new, and it's hilarious when they tell her how different things work. Then they've got the host of the show. He's great. Like, he's really good. And then they've got the kind of comic relief guy that, turns everything into an innuendo and makes inside jokes that sometimes are funny and sometimes aren't. And but yeah, it's great. They just got some new recording equipment. It was a little rough prior to that. They were recording a lot of background noise. I was trying really hard not to reach out and be like, hey, let me show you how you fix this background noise, different things. But I didn't because, unsolicited advice. But they got new mics. It sounds great. Check them out, Mere Casuals. Okay, and then didn't have any new voicemails this week. It's 2 weeks in a row, guys. Come on, give us some stuff. We want to hear from you. The number is 816-866-1066. 816-866-1066. And if you're outside of the U.S., or just want to do it from your computer and would rather not do it from your phone, that's fine too. You can go to speakpipe.com/Warcraft Reloaded. Both of these links and the number will be in the description. Come on, call in. Those are so fun. So fun. All right. No new reviews either. Those have been really quiet. Those came in hard and fast, early on in the show. But those just don't seem to come anymore. It's weird. I was looking at other podcasts too. That's kind of how it was for Countdown to Classic too. They had a ton early on, and now it's like here and there, So I think like the big reviewers get in on pods early, maybe, and then don't. We're still growing in stars on Spotify. I also think Spotify might be taking over the podcast market, because it used to be the huge amount of your podcast downloads came from iTunes, and now our show definitely more come from Spotify, but I think that's probably starting to become the norm. I think they're starting to take over the podcast market. So interesting there. But so what have you been doing this week, Go?
I didn't do much yesterday because the new season of You came out on Netflix, and I binge watched the first. I think it's only 5 or 6 episodes, but I watched them all. I was at work on my phone watching them, and then I got home. I was watching it before Raid. Raid ended. I watched more after Raid, but it's a sweet show so far. But in game wise,
well, hold on. I want to hit on that because Netflix is doing this thing where they're putting out half the episodes, and then the other half a month later. I don't know if they think that'll keep people subscribed or something, but I mean, people could just wait to resubscribe until all of them are out or something. But yeah, it's a little weird. But I watched that. I got a little ill. I think it was the second episode where he was cutting up everything, and man, I was like, God, that was a rough scene to watch. And I could usually handle pretty good gore, but that was just for some reason it was hyper real for me, and I was just like, oh God. But yeah, that show is wild, man. That show is just wild.
Reminded me of Dexter.
Dexter, yep.
And, and there's I don't know how to. It's a full frontal male nudity in that. That show doesn't have nudity, but that was their first time. They're like, hey, you guys are seeing a human body, and it's going to be everything. Yeah,
it was. Yeah, and it was definitely a very very blessed man, or gifted. He had gifts. Um,
Well endowed.
That reminds me of another show I've been. Oh my gosh, we're doing horrible tangents, but I've been watching this stupid show. I almost didn't like continue watching it after the first episode, but I just didn't have anything to watch. It was just like, they're only half an hour episodes. It's called Future Man. It's got the guy from our show Peta, Catching Fire, Hunger Games.
Yeah.
It's Peta from Hunger Games. He's the star, and it's hilarious because it's basically the last Starfighter. Like, it's about a guy that beats a game, and people from the future sent the game back, and they come back to, before it was, from outer space in the last Starfighter, but people from the future come back to get him to save the world, and it's just slapstick comedy. I mean, but it gets better and better the more you watch it. And I'm just like, I was just laughing, and they do a ton of full frontal male nudity, but it's all like, it's all fake stuff. Like, so we're talking really blessed type of situations. It's just like what the heck is going on?
Like Basketball, that old movie when they're in the locker room and they turn. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep. It's like that old joke when two guys go up to a bridge and pee off of the end, and one guy, kicks a rock in and goes, "Man, this water's chilly," and the other guy goes, "Yeah, it's deep too." Oh man, it's okay. We have tangents. Okay. Done.
Yeah,
no more tangents.
World of Warcraft. Yep. I did a little bit of hardcore. I had a level 18 druid, of course, and I went into RFC. This was on Wrath of the Lich King. I went into RFC to try to solo it and complete all the quests. And I downed all the bosses. I had skipped one of it's like a shaman at the front of the dungeon for like my last quest to do. There was 5 quests. I had one mob left, and there was respawns, and I was going back through the dungeon. I had run out of water, and I was streaming it, so I was like in a rush to get back. I could have just taken my time, like regened my mana, done the pools, and I had found a reset spot, and I was like, all right, I can just gather up a couple of these mobs, run to the reset spot, reset everything, and then kind of skip them and move on and save a bunch of time. I was all confident. I grabbed all the mobs. I was going up this little ramp to jump down onto a ledge to evade everything. They reset. I jumped off and I missed the ledge. And I was like, uh-oh.
Oh no.
I had already used my potion. It's on cooldown. Like, it's not coming back because it's Wrath. Like in classic era, you can use multiple potions in combat, but yeah, Wrath, only one. And I tried to make it back up to get the jump again, and I couldn't get there in time. And RIP my level. I think I got to 19 in the dungeon. So rip that tune. And I started another one so I can get back in there and do it, because that's my niche, I think, is like, I'm playing Wrath. It's different. Everybody's playing Era. Wrath is a little easier, but to challenge myself, I'm doing dungeon solo. So that's my hardcore goal right now, is to get back in there and clear it.
Yeah, the talent's just so, I love Cargos, but he did, a video the other day, and he even said he thinks it's a hot take. And I agree. He said, he thinks the talents are great in vanilla. And I'm just like, they're great for certain people, and then there's a lot of problems, with them though. Like, I mean, warriors, for instance, like, that's a hard road, maybe you could make a case that things would be a little better for classes if, you leave the talents the same, but change the gearing to what it is in Wrath for the early stuff. Because if, people might not know, in TBC and maybe in Wrath too, but at least TBC, everything in the old dungeons was reworked. Like, all those lower level blue items have spell power. Lots of them have hit. Hit was impossible to get while you were leveling back in vanilla. It was extremely, I mean, extremely rare items had some hit on it, but it was almost impossible to get that hit rating. And when you have such a bad miss rate, it's just it didn't work. So I just, there has to be some changes to make it great in my opinion. But I just love the way the talents are set up in Wrath. But yeah, it might be a little bit easier. So I mean, it definitely is, because you definitely can solo dungeons with a lot of different classes. So it's definitely easier because you're getting a lot more good talents early on. You're getting the gears a lot different, but I just think it's more fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's not that many people playing Wrath either. So the only way I could do these dungeons is if I solo them. And I want to do the dungeons because I get the achievement. I'm like, ooh, achievement. It's a hardcore tune. If I live, I'm going to have this to show off to everybody. Like, yeah, I got this.
Yep, I have it on too. I've completed the hardcore challenge with a druid doing duo and solo with a rogue. I did that the wrong way, though. I should have done solo with the druid and duo with the rogue, because the rogue was tough. Everybody talks shit. The rogue was tough. You miss a lot. You have a lot of misses. If you don't have your cooldowns, you're just a tool. Like you're just not even you're not getting out of anything. So yeah, anybody that says that's easy, druid was much easier, much more tools to work with. With cat form, you just have the 8% chance to miss, with white hits too, which is, crazy different than like the 26% chance to miss with white hits on a rogue. So it was amazing to me how much faster I could kill things in cat at the same level with, than with the rogue, where the rogue was just a pain in the butt at times with bad RNG. But yeah, I haven't done any more hardcore. I've just got too much going on in Wrath, and I care about all the achievements and crap, and so I've been doing that, but I just haven't had a ton of time to play outside of raiding and everything else. I've done some GDKPs. It's kind of nice to jump in with the fat warrior tank and do SAF and KT for 20 minutes and in a 10-man and make 500 to 1K gold for just that, or do Malagos or Sarth. Like, it's just easy money, fast, small commitment. So yeah, it's been pretty easy.
We tried to do a Sarth 3 Drake last night after our 10-man Ulduar, and after everybody had made their excuse that they weren't going to stay up to do it and left, we were down to like 3 people or 4 people. So we were like, I guess we're not going to do that tonight. But I haven't really done like phase 1 raids really since phase 2 has come out, because there's just not that much time to do it, and people aren't as interested anymore.
Yeah, I wish I could find a 10-man group in our guild that would be willing to just, for the next 10 weeks, just promise everybody that all 10 of us will go and do Sarth 3D 10 so I can get that mount. Like, I don't care if I get it first, I'll come the rest of the nine weeks. Like, it's just so easy now. If you're Ulduar geared, like, I want that mount, but I don't want to pug it, and I don't want to buy it from a GDKP. Like, But I, talking people into that is not the easiest thing.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what else I really did this week. I always farm my herbs for my potions and my flask, but I usually do that while I'm at work. I have the laptop and I just fly around Ice Crown and pick up my herbs. And it's like, 100, 120 Lich Bloom gets me enough for the flasks and the potions I need.
Ooh, oh man. Cat, okay, we usually don't do this on the show, but fat raids have to get a call out. April Kit Kat, thank you so much for the raid. Huge, 188. Everybody who's in here, check out April Cat. You were doing hardcore? Oh, whoops, I did that wrong.
Oh, Ragnaros today. That's right. Yeah. I saw yesterday they were making plans to do it. I guess rag down. The emote's catchy, man. If you just staring at the chat, you just kind of like makes you want to pop back and forth.
Oh man, thank you guys so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're just doing the show. We're going to be talking about raid prog on hard modes here in about 25 minutes when Mel and Yip join the show. But yeah, we're just kind of going over what we've been doing this week, and we're going to hit the news here in a second. Thank you so much for the raid. Woo. Okay, back to the show. Okay, so you were saying.
I forget what I was saying. I'm terrible. If I get distracted, my train of thought is
we were talking about hardcore. you were doing hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, yeah, totally forgot.
Herbs, farming stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's all really else that I've done on like Wrath is just like farm my herbs for raid, do the raids, and play a little hardcore on Wrath. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, we're for all you hardcore people now in chat, we're going to be doing. I'm getting it set up. I don't know like what time it'll be, but it'll be not next weekend, but the weekend after. We're going to have Nom Nom and probably Winky. Maybe we'll get Cat on too. But we're going to do a straight up just hardcore episode. We've done all kinds of Ulduar stuff as of late. And so we're just going to do a straight up hardcore episode. Kat's had not been on for a bit, so that she would be perfect to add to that group. Be awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're Kat, if you're still in chat, I'll get with you sometime next week. And when I need Nam on. I've been promising Nam to come on forever. So once I square down the time with him, I'll see if it works for you too. Oh yeah. Yeah, Table Slam's also been into the hardcore. I was watching him today. He was up to like 40 some viewers, and just a few weeks ago he was sitting at 3. Yeah. So he's doing great. I'm so happy for him.
He's getting a new little setup with help from his community. It's awesome, dude. People are helping him out, boosting him up. It's cool to watch. Yeah. He's doing a duo today. He started with somebody else.
I was actually hunk something. I was watching him today. He did a really cool. He was a night elf druid, and level 1 swam from Methodal Harbor to Westfall. And that's where he met up with him to start their journey in Elwood Forest. I thought that was pretty cool.
I made that swim before myself recently. It's not fun. It's scary. It's like, is there going to be a reef shark out here that's just going to come bite me once and I'm going to die? Like,
Oh man, yeah. There's another skip. I think the skip that's really scary is going to the Night Elf area from like Ironforge. Like you got to do the no death, climb over, because like it's easy to do the skip from the Ironforge main continent area. You climb up the mountain, you drop off, you die, you res at Methodal Harbor, but you can get down there without dying. And then the biggest challenge is to swim across the water to Methodal Harbor. There's this big old crocodile that could get you. And so, yeah, it's a little bit of a different one. But yeah, I never did any of the skips with my 2 hardcore level 60s. I did a lot of shenanigans with the rogue, but the rogue died a good 4 times before I hit level 60. So, and it kept going worse. I think I got to level like 33 the first time on the first rogue, then died. It got to like level 26, then died. It got to like level 19, then died. Then got to level 12, then died. Got to level 7, died. And Wiki was like, Bob, stop. Just relax. You're in the, what do you call it? The Twilight Zone, or
The
shadow,
realm,
yeah, the shadow zone. And so I stopped, collected by himself, worked on professions, took my time, made it to 60. And then, yeah, did the duo druid with Mel, made it to 60 on that guy too. But we died a couple times. We died at level 35 and level 19. But we also had a warlock and a priest that we started very first. We got to like level 28. Mel died to Cleave in Stormwind from the Nixia attunement quest. She was walking by the mobs and they cleave. Yeah, she just died. She was like, what the heck just happened? So that's funny. Yeah, it's so funny. But yeah, so that's what we've been, it's what we've been doing. You want to move into news? Because they're going to be joining us here in 20 minutes. And there's a piece of news I really think we need to talk about.
Time for the news.
All right. So first up in the news this week is just a little bit of hot fixes, but I think they're kind of important. Okay. So the first one, well, at least this one is, okay. I can't say this word. Daily quests now reset at 7 a.m. real time in order to coincide with all other daily resets. Now, why this is important is your boy Griffith came out with a video recently pointing out how you could get three extra emblems a day. And the reason for this was because the actual heroic daily would reset at 7 a.m., but the heroic daily quest would reset at 11. So you could go do what was the daily quest before. You could do that dungeon. You wouldn't have the quest, but you would get the 3 extra badges at the end. Then you could go, when it resets at 11, pick up the new quest. And if it was a different dungeon, then you could do that one for the 2 for the quest and the 3 at the end of the dungeon, giving you a total of 8 in one day. And yeah, so that's been changed now. So everything's going to reset at 7. So if you were doing that, it's no longer going to work. Thanks, Griffith, for messing up our fun. You're the new Sarth now.
There was people in the comments of the video that were like, thanks for leaking this and putting this out there. It's going to get patched now. And it took like a week and a half for them to patch it. When Sarth does it, it's like instant. So, Griff got a little taste of that, like that power to get things to change. Yeah.
That's good stuff. And then they just fixed an error exchanging emblems. Someone in the comments of the YouTube video wanted me to let you guys know that oh, thanks, dogs. Dog too. The macro we gave you last week in the show notes, you could change the number values and you could do 50 emblems in one click if you want to, which is really nice. If you spam it, it does like 5 at a time, basically, if you just spam hard. But, if you've got 500 emblems, maybe you don't want to do that. But yeah, that's that. And then, we got the new Retribution change to the glyph, where now their taunt can be used on as not a taunt, but it basically just turns it into a deep DPS move, because it doesn't taunt and it just does static damage. And then they changed the way that they build up their stacks of Seal of Vengeance and Seal of Corruption. And so have you seen any? Our Paladin ticked up quite a bit. Like on some fights, we were seeing him as 4th and 5th overall damage. And we're like, whoo, that's different. You've been seeing any difference in your Ret Pally? Or do you not even have a Ret Pally?
Oh, we do have a Ret Pally, yeah. And I just remember on Tuesday, they I'm always looking at the parses on the raid at the end of the night, and they had the top highest average because they were just parsing like 80 or 98, like 99s on so many bosses because their damage went up like that 10% or whatever it's supposed to go. So yeah, it was noticeable, but I'm not really seeing them like on a boss fight. I only have like the top 4 or 5 damage done like on my screen at a time, and I didn't really see like the pink bar come up there, but I know they're doing more damage. Like even just looking at Warcraft logs, if you go to like their statistics and everything, and instead of doing like it defaults to 2 weeks, if you default it to 1 week, rep pallies they're jumping up there, and now there's like a new low DPS like that's right up the PvP specs, and it's the Feral Druid. So yeah, my buddy Griff is trying to start a movement to get like a Feral Druid change. It's like if Blizz is gonna make a change to Ret, he's like, yeah, Feral is now going to be on the bottom. If we could get a little bump and get bumped up a little bit, that'd be cool.
Well, it's interesting because I don't know what changes they did to Feral after Ulduar. Like there, but I remember in Ulduar, in OG Ulduar, combat rogues, fire mages, and feral druids ruled the roost. So I wonder if they made that change to Omen of Clarity or something later on in the patch cycle. If someone could probably dig, you might tell them to dig through the old patch notes, because you can find all kinds of stuff there. Because I found that rogues poisons were changed completely towards the end of Wrath. Like that's the only reason assassination rogues rule right now in Ulduar, is because they changed the way poisons work in a few different ways, because they were a joke, in Ulduar before, and like now they're, they rock, and so it also changes the way that combat rogues gear, rather than just pure gemming armor, like armor pen. You get quite a bit more damage from poisons than you did back in the day, just because of the way they work. So I'm curious if they changed some of that. But in chat, they said, why would your parse go up when it's just compared to other players? I don't know if we said parse. If we did, I apologize. And we weren't talking about parsing. We were talking about their location at the end of a fight compared to the rest of the people in your specific raid. So we were talking about them. They were at the bottom of my list, and now he's popping in to the middle, at the end of the fight, which is definitely different than it was in our particular raid prior to that. So, yeah, I mean, the parse is going to be the same because you're compared, like, at least the, 99, 98, like those are just going to, like, just be higher damage markers now. Like it's, that's the way it works. It's just comparing you with people of the other class. But yeah, I don't mind it. It worries me for, just like, we were talking about Table Slam, earlier. He did the whole thing where he went and found, boss fight damage meter info from back at the end of Wrath. And Ret Pallies, I still have it up here. Ret Pallies on Sara Fang. Ret Pallies were the 6th highest DPS on that fight. On Festergut, they were 5. They were the 5th highest, and they were the 4th highest on Rotface. So does that mean they're going to be moving up more notches too? Like that's a little scary. So I don't know. We'll just have to see. But it makes the Rets happier. It makes us happier to take a Ret, and I'm kind of indifferent about it. But yeah, I don't know. Okay, so what's up next? Okay, so they fixed an issue where some players would randomly receive full resources in Ulduar, like mana, rage. I might have seen this bug. I was talking to a friend and thinking that I was getting a lot more offhand energy procs when I switched to combat swords, and I thought it was because of the extra hit, until he corrected me and was like, the extra offhand hit procs your main hand, not your offhand. So it's not procking an extra possible 20 energy tick. So our 15 energy tick, I think it is. So I was like, oh yeah, you're right. So I wonder if those times I saw it, just my energy go from 5 to 100 was actually a bug. Interesting, you know.
I might have seen my mana get topped off too on Yogg. Like at the end of, I guess it's phase 3, I think, where you've already pushed the brain and then you're just fighting Yogg and then the couple ads. If my sanity's low as a boomy, I just face away, and if there's like 2 ads, I'll just hurricane because I can face away from the boss. I'm not going to lose any sanity. And I was just chain hurricaning for like a minute, and my mana bar was full, and I don't think I was getting omen procs. But like it was just weird to finish the fight with full mana.
Oh, sorry.
Weird. No, it was just strange. But I didn't think anything of it because it was only like a one-time thing. So maybe that was that bug. That's the only time I could think of where I might have got like mana out of nowhere.
Yeah. Well, just to go back real quick to the Paladins, Shaka Zulu in chat points out something that I had not thought of. The taunt. Maybe the glyphs should have put it on the GCD, the global cooldown, because now it's a damage ability that's not on the global cooldown. You know, and like we have some of that stuff like Heroic Strike, but Heroic Strike has to go along with your swing timer, right? But yeah, this is just a straight up damage. I'm trying to think. There are other ones I think that are on that list, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. But that is interesting because it's off the GCD, so it can literally just be macroed into everything.
Yeah, there's another way I heard it could get used.
Oh, he just said the same thing. Yeah.
I was talking to Scotty J on Wednesday, and he was saying that, you know, tank prop pallies can use this too, because they're not using taunt hardly on any fight. Maybe there was like one fight that he brought up where they actually used their taunt, but I think especially in like 10-mans or something, he was saying like prop pallies can take advantage of this and get extra damage and get extra threat from using this glyph.
I think they were using it on. They were using it on fights where the boss was tauntable because it you know, if they were main tanking, just because it was extra damage that they could just throw in. Like I remember on the dance, Yip would use it when he was playing Ret while we did the Hagen dance, and it was just like, hey Bob, you're gonna have to retaunt when he comes down, just because it was just extra damage they could do on the run, you know. So I think they did use it, but they could use it on fights that, you know, they could glyph it in, you know, on fights that they don't think they're going to have to taunt, because, you know, as the main tank on a boss fight, you're probably not going to taunt much. Like, so yeah, that is quite a bit of a jump. Although swapping glyphs, I've been doing it a lot as of late because I have to do armor pen on certain fights. So I'll switch in the armor reducer glyph. What's it called? Expose armor glyph. And yeah, it's a pain in the butt to keep doing that if your raid's moving fast. But, you know, if you're looking for a parse, I mean, maybe do it once or twice, you know. So yeah, interesting thought. All right, we are almost out of time before Yip and Mel get on. So I want to let's jump to this piece of news. Faction change is now in. You can move one character for $21. You can move 3 characters for $42. You can move 8 characters for $95. While I think that is a really good idea to, you know, if you're going to allow this service to give people the ability to do a lot of characters, you know, instead of, you know, $25, $30 each, let them do a bundle. But where I don't think this should be in the game. And Willie put a really good post out, a really good video out pointing out how this changed the game in Cataclysm and slowly but surely everyone in World of Warcraft became Horde due to racials. And the harder the game gets, the more you are enticed to do everything you can to have the best chance to drop the bosses, which made the hardcores move to Horde. And slowly but surely, that made the casuals move to Horde. And all of a sudden, you have a game that's all Horde. And some people will just quit rather than move over. And I think it's, I think it's a bad thing, because right now I wouldn't think about faction changing before this. Now I would think about it just, if just because like I could take my characters, whereas before I'm invested. I'm just not going to move. I'm just going to point out, Horde have this. So it's not fair, but it's not that big of a deal. Now that we can move, will history repeat itself again? And I agree with Willie and say, yeah.
I would only switch one of my tunes right now. And even still, like, I'm stingy. $22? I'm like, do I really want to transfer this tune, like faction change it? I don't know. I've only ever paid for one server transfer, and that was before I had like all these alts and wrath. This was back in TBC, and it took me a lot to do that. It was only because like the whole guild was moving, and some people were moving like 3 of their tunes, 4 of their tunes, and getting bundles with that. And it was like an Easter holiday or something, I think. So it was a reduced price. I want to say it was like $17.50 or something to transfer. But yeah, the faction thing, I would change one tune, and that's only because I made a mistake and made an alliance tune. Like who does that with my boost? So I would like just switch my alliance to my horde. But yeah, overall though, that's a lot of money that people would have to spend to go from horde to a like alliance to horde to make it like really unbalanced.
I mean, the 8 characters would be less than I spent moving 4 characters from Whitemane to Benediction. Yeah, it'd be $5 less or whatever. So yeah, I don't think it's a good thing. It's even, they already dropped the ball on the faction balance on servers, and now they're going down the same route. I know they want to make some money off of this, but making $15 a month, and the majority of people that I know play Classic the vast majority of the time and not retail. So that $15 a month is for Classic, so
that's me.
Yeah. To me, it's the majority of people that I know. Yeah, I do know a lot of people that did jump over for a bit to Dragonflight. Even I tried it out for a good, 5 to 8 hours or so, but they're back and they're not there. They're in hardcore, or they're raiding constantly, or in Ulduar. So yeah, I just don't think this is a good idea, and I'm kind of bummed about it.
I mean, what other option does Blizzard have, though? Just to not do it, or do they do it kind of like some P servers where you can cross-faction play?
No, I say they
raid with Alliance and Horde in the same raid. Like, would that be a better option?
I say they rework racials or remove them.
Just change the racials then?
Yeah, just take them out.
Or disable racials in PvE, but allow them in PvP, because I know that's a huge thing for PvPers.
They're bad in PvP too. They skew the whole thing there too. Just take them out, like or make it to where racials are no longer racials. They're player abilities, and you could have up to a certain amount of them, and you do quest lines to get them, and then you could change them whenever you want, but you have to do a quest line, not glyph, not something you can change during raid. Have it so that it's like a not long, but a quest line that's going to take you an hour, to change, And then you'll have people doing specific ones for the things that they want and the things that are important to them. And it's like, you know, a skill. You know, we have our class stuff. We have professions. Make this your skills section. You can have like up to 2 defensive and up to 2 offensive, you know, or something of that nature. Like that seems like I would be fine with that, you know, like yeah. Just because you're a rogue doesn't mean you're the only class that could learn how to lockpick. Like that's not a racial, but that's, you know, kind of just because you're a gnome doesn't mean you're the only one that could, like, you know, like that's, you know, has double jointed thumbs and can get out of handcuffs, you know? So just do that and stop the whole choosing your side because you need that racial to compete. I think that's what you do. And then faction change, I feel is okay. I just don't want to, you know, find myself in the predicament where I'm changing, you know, faction because, you know, this, you know.
Yeah. So make it kind of like engineering. You can specialize in gnomish or goblin and you can change it, but you have to do something first before you can change it.
Yeah. Yeah. Something like that.
It's gold, but yeah, you've had to do your quest in order to get the specialization first. So yeah.
I definitely don't want it to be something like glyphs, because glyphs, I almost wish were like you had to choose what you were going to stick with for, like, I wish there was a cooldown for swapping glyphs, so it wasn't, because I'm sitting here with like all these different like stacks of 20 glyphs in my bag that I'm constantly changing out for different situations, and like I do it, but I don't want to do it. But I do it because, like, I'm going to do everything I can to be the best, that I can be. Let's put it like that, because I cannot be the best. I can only be the best that I can be. But we're getting ready to be joined by Yip and Mel, so let's move into...
Bobby, we need to have a talk about this World of Warcraft Classic. Do I look like I know what a WoW token is?
All right, joining the show now is Mel, aka Melorina. How you doing?
Good. Here. You know, this is my new segment.
And joining the show as well, Ryan, aka TheYipShow. How you doing, brother?
Hello, doing great.
Awesome.
Life filled with Ulduar.
Yes, it is Ulduar all day, every day. So this is where we're going to talk about our hardcore progression in this week. So, Yip, do you want to start with the 25-man stuff?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Our plan for 25 was pretty simple. Harscare, our wonderful raid leader, put together a list of who was going to do what vehicle for hard mode Flame Leviathan. So we had people try it out in 10-man. I think did anyone get down 10-man before we did it in 25-man, actually?
I think so.
Maybe not. Yeah, the struggle with Flame Leviathan is that it takes so much time. It's just such a, I don't want to say waste of time, but it attempts at it, like you're probably going to waste an hour of what is hopefully a 2.5 to 3 hour raid. So that's a lot of time to spend on the first boss.
Yeah, because you have to buff at least everybody that's going to be shot up, and everybody jumps in the vehicles before, and then buffs go out, then the people buffing jump in, and then they realize we haven't buffed some other people, and everybody jumps back out, and like all those types of things, and then shooting down the pyrites and all that stuff. And then there's no
pyrite on the left side, and it's like, it's just it really is a whole thing to do. So we went in with an excellent plan. You know, this caster's going to be in the demo. This person's going to get launched up. Everything was planned out perfectly. And then we had 2 warlocks not show up.
Oh, no.
So we had to, it's even more confusing to have a slightly wrong spreadsheet than having no spreadsheet. I feel like it was just immediately causing so many problems to be like, but wait, who am I shooting up? Wait, am I slotting up or am I going for this person now? It's like there's only 2 people missing. And it was like a nightmare of coordination still. So spreadsheet ended up being super useful once we got those switches hammered out. But yeah, I mean, I would suggest doing a spreadsheet, just know who's going to show up and then maybe not post the picture till it's adjusted for that. But getting doing all the trash and walking over to Flame Leviathan, all that stuff is easy as ever. But on hard mode, he does 1 million extra things, roughly 1 million. He's an entirely different boss fight. I don't think there's any hard mode that is as different of a boss fight. Maybe Thorum, although it's not like you don't really approach it differently, but there is like a bunch more abilities being cast, and here there are abilities from every keeper. So Freya is sending ads out the entire time people need to kill. Hodir is freezing you, and you need to bust people out or just be in a faster vehicle than me. I'm in the siege every time, which is like sometimes when you're baiting it, you're just a little too slow if you don't have your boost up. Yeah, I got caught once or twice, for sure.
Well, and if you're a demo driver, you don't control your boost, and it takes 25 pyrite. So you have to have a really smart, a really smart passenger to know when you need a boost and when you don't, or else you're just going to clog more of the comms with asking for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, in 25 man, the big takeaway is that it's just one of those fights where people need to know how to do the fight on their own. You can't calm out every single thing. So other than the ads and the ice blocks, there's also fire that gets put on the ground that will absolutely truck you. There is Thorum puts down just like hammers that automatically hit everybody, I think. So it's just, everything is so much more punishing, and there's a lot more damage going out. Plus, you actually have to make use of the turret mechanics. So you need to use the demos to launch people up. And then the important thing is that you still need somebody in the demo to stack pyrite. So you have to have someone who's swapping into the demo in order to keep those pyrite stacks up. So I think in some of the areas that we ended up struggling the most, or ways that we could make it 1 million times easier in the future, it's just those pyrite stacks. We have like, how many is it? 5 or 6 demos in 25 man, 5. And we were ending up with like 2 stacks of pyrite at 10 at most times. And that could be a function of like where we're shooting down pyrite or how we're like swapping people in and out. But I think like if we were doing 30% more damage, it'd be a lot easier.
Right.
But for us, it was just a time thing. The slow mistakes of getting somebody out of the ice too long, or taking too long to get ads, or not picking people up with the chopper fast enough, and then somebody dies. Slowly, you'll just like lose a vehicle here or there, and it becomes just more and more difficult.
And outside of the vehicles, you die so fast. I was just like, some people just get one shot, and so then you don't have, the motorcycle can't pick up the people. It's just like, what is going on?
On the other hand, I feel like sometimes my vehicle dies and I'm just like running around like, what do I do? What do I do now? I'm probably just die, right? And then all of a sudden I die, right? But it feels like eternity.
Yeah, one of the attempts, my vehicle broke and I was out just tanking the flower mobs, and I was expecting to die, but I just had them. I was running around with them. Like, I'm still here, guys.
Somebody pick me up.
Yeah, then there's just the whole like, you have some people that like shoot their passengers over Flame Leviathan instead of like on to Flame Leviathan, and like you got to be like, some people aim and then they'll like click it, but he can move. Like you have to keep aim on it because it's a cast time. Like you have to keep aim on it the entire time the cast time's going on, because if you don't, like you might just you might roll past and then you shoot your guy over. There's a lot of people that do that when they first start to do it. And then you have people that load in to the catapult to early. You can't shoot them off. You can't shoot any pyrite, so you lose stacks. It's a whole deal.
Well, shout out to my demo drivers because I've never gotten shot over the boss. They've got good accuracy. I'm getting on the boss every time I'm shot up there.
I had no idea that was even possible until we went into 10-man. And then in our first attempt in 10-man, I think Stormex got launched past Leviathan, died, and was like, oh, I got shot past it. And I was like, wait, what? And then Jasmine got out to battle res and then immediately died. And I had no idea what was going on. Suddenly 2 people are dead in the first 20 seconds.
That was the second attempt. The first attempt, Stormex didn't even get shot up until the boss had a fifth of his life gone. And Stormex was like, is there something we're waiting on? So he didn't even get shot, and the other demo had no damage on the boss. It's a lot.
Yeah, it definitely.
I will say, as the pyrite shooter, very important job. But in 10-man, it's much easier to tell if you're good at shooting pyrite because in 25-man, everybody's kind of shooting the same stuff, so you assume that you're shooting right. Well, in 10-man, it's like
shoot it down. Gotcha.
Yeah. In 10-man, it's like you're the only one shooting at it. So you really get to understand how bad you shoot sometimes and how, You
have to shoot where it's going to be when your projectile gets there. Same with the demo. You don't shoot at the target. You shoot where the target's going to be if they're moving. I
understand the logistics of it. It's just...
Mel, you have to shut your eyes and lick your finger and put it up to the wind and then...
Yeah, that's what I do.
then shoot at.
Exactly.
Listen, sometimes I just spam shoot it. I'm just like, I'll get something, right?
Now, it definitely wasn't clean, but after a few pulls, we did kill Flame Leviathan, which is good. But I think we were on the verge of wiping as we did it. It was definitely still looking a little rough. It's going to get easier for sure, but I think people just have to know what their role is. The choppers need to know who they're picking up and they have to go do it. People who are killing ads need to actually kill the ads. People who are interrupting Steam or the flame vents need to do that. And you can't just hope that you won't have to do your job and get skirt by. Everyone just sort of has to do their role. And each individual role isn't that hard. It's annoying because you're in a vehicle, but I don't think any of them are particularly insanely difficult. Nothing more than Malagos, the dragon phase in Malagos, but it's just the fight goes poorly if there's a couple of weak links, or if one vehicle gets destroyed, suddenly your damage is going down quite a bit and everything becomes much harder to manage. But it's doable, and we did it.
We did. I would say the hardest job in some situation is the demo driver. It's super easy unless you get targeted constantly by the frost. If you get actually, if Flame Leviathan targets you, you've got to shoot a pyrite, turn, run, and then when you're, it's about 2 seconds for the pyrite to drop off, and you got to think about hang time for your pyrite to shoot to him. You got to turn back, shoot one, turn again, keep running. That can be really hard at times, and I don't know a ton about the other different roles, so I can't really speak to those, because I'm sure the bikes, they say that's the easiest job, but you're trying to pick up passengers. I can see how that could be a really hard job and really stressful. So,
yeah, I think the choppers actually do have it kind of hard, but I think the problem is that pyrite is so important that the demo drivers have on an equilibrium point, the most important hard job. Yep. So if it is hard to keep up your stacks, the raid gets affected the most. Whereas the chopper, if they don't put oil down for the ads, it's just going to go unnoticed. You can be worse at the chopper, but doing it well, I still think there's a lot of things to manage. The siege engine roll, I very easy. I just followed around interrupting.
Yeah, the siege engine shooter role is even a little bit better, right? Yeah. I mean, there's very little I can do to mess this job up.
So the one role we haven't talked about is the role that I've kind of filled, and that's the demo passenger. And I feel like we have a lot of responsibility. Like we've got to load ourselves at the right time. Then we have to actually like burst down the turret. And then we have to like hope that our chopper is going to pick us up in time, or we're going to like have to struggle, use our rocket boot, try to get back to our demo in time. We have to like, once we're back in the demo, we have to shoot down the pyrite. Then we have to hope that our demo driver is in range to pick up pyrite, because they're like yelling at us like, I need pyrite. Well, drive closer to the pyrite. And then we have to like,
luckily I try and watch that hardcore.
Yeah, we have to use our speed boost at the right time for our demo driver to get away from the boss when they get targeted.
Yep.
It's a lot of work for that passenger. I'm just saying.
Yeah, my passenger role's much easier.
Classic demo passenger propaganda here. Don't believe them, folks. These are the casters going in these roles, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't deserve our sympathy. On every other boss fight, they stand planted far away, shooting there.
I just gotta say, raid progress wise, you guys are ahead of our guild. We haven't done Flame Leviathan hard mode in 25. We've done 10 man. I think 2 groups have got it in 10 man, but yeah, 25. You guys got us.
Well, in 10 man, I spectacularly did not do it. So we're all over the place. We did have one group going and one shot it, which is good. Kind of unfair to have
that's my group
in it. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
The group with the raid leader, that's the
yeah. And as we've established, my job is the hardest, so I was obviously very critical to that one shot.
But other than Flame Leviathan, we didn't have plans to get down anything new. We didn't even do attempts on the Iron Council, I don't think. We wanted to kind of speed through after Flame Leviathan because that, again, ate up like an hour of our time, and we wanted to stop on raid time. We actually blew through the rest of the raid, which is pretty shocking. We wasted a lot of time at the beginning, and we still ended up like further than we normally get, despite wasting all that time. So we were definitely on it as far as moving up and getting everything down.
Yeah, we we one-shot everything until Freya.
Yeah, we did XT for the first time this week in 25. Right?
Did we kill XT in 25, man?
Oh,
we didn't do hard mode.
We didn't end up doing it because we took so much time on Flame Leviathan. Oh, we didn't even try it.
I think Thorum was the only other. Well, Thorum and Freya, I think, were the only other hard modes.
Yeah, we attempted we quote unquote attempted Hodir, but we were, I think 25, 30 seconds off. I think it's definitely doable especially if we get the right combination of magic, mechanics. I'm the tank. I don't care about whatever these mechanics are. You guys got glowing beams. You've got campfires. You've got something or other. I just stand there.
I'm so confused on the buffs. Like, and there's a few different people like Stormax and LZ that'll keep like, they'll talk it straight out, and like it sounds like they're saying exactly what it's doing, and I'm just so fucking lost at what the heck they just said. I'm like, okay,
it's because you've never played range. Like I don't play ranged, but I'm a healer, so I understand. Like I can see it, right? Like the campfire buff puts a buff on the boss that allows more damage, right? The beam increases spell power, and yeah, I mean, their little sparky thing, or I don't know, maybe the beam does haste. One of them does haste, one of them does spell power. I think, I don't know. They run around. I'm just supposed to stand away.
We can't keep up with all these mechanics that are made to spoon feed the spellcasters. You got the Runes of Power on Iron Council. You've got Vezix. You got the Shadow Crashes. They just want these casters to rip threat from me. And Hodir just happens to be one of them. In 10 man, though, we are starting to see some success on Hodir, which is nice. 2 of our 10 mans were able to do Hodir. I think our 10 man was even faster. Am I wrong, Bob?
I think we did it we had 10 seconds to spare, I think, or maybe
ours
12.
Was a minute 55 or something like that.
Oh, was it?
Ours was a minute 55 exactly.
Oh, dang it. Ours might have been like a minute 56. Oh, no. But either way.
We didn't have any locks, though.
We did have 0 locks.
We were going with a rogue. What was it? A rogue, a Frost DK, a Shadow Priest, Enhancement Shaman, Elemental Shaman, and a Boomkin.
I mean, we had Butters as a lock, and then we had Harry. So, like, you know.
Don't worry, I've looked it up. We were a 154. The world is saved. We're 154.
Okay.
Nice.
And we can all thank me because I put on, just for that fight, I put on a battle power flask instead of my stamina flask. I was like, we're gonna need this extra attack power to get this down.
Didn't you put on greatness too?
I think I did put on
Trinket?
greatness.
Yeah.
Very strong. Which is a big swing. That ends up being multiple thousands of swing in health and then swing in which is really nice, but definitely nothing to scoff at. But in 25, man, I think we're a couple weeks away. I think if we wanted to wipe on it over and over again, we'd be able to do it. But if we want, I don't know how much we want to do that necessarily. But that left Mimiron, Vezix, and Yogg for us. We have already done Vezix hard mode, and we've done Yogg 1, and we weren't going to do Yogg 0 or anything like that. But after our 25-man raid, we had a really strong 10-man raid that Mel was a part of. We sent in specifically to get an Algalon key. We had somebody who already had the quest. I think Harscare must have already had the quest going in. Because then we ended up the goal was to make 2 keys by the end, so that way we can run 2 groups into Algalon each week. But Mel, how did that one go?
Well, it was really great, right? So we started off, we did like everything up to Freya. We one shot. It was just like boom, 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 right?
Even XT.
Yeah, we did XT hard mode. We didn't do Flame Leviathan hard mode in that group because
I thought you did do.
I thought you did do it. I'm pretty sure you did.
I'm pretty sure you did do it.
Yeah, because Go and I saw it.
Is that what?
Yeah,
we did.
Yeah.
Okay, so we did that.
Mel, so this is how you know that the easiest job on Flame Leviathan is the gunner on the siege engine, because she didn't even know they did hard mode.
Know that I raid way too much with 2 different characters, way too many nights a week, that they all just kind of run together a little bit.
Yeah, it's true. Bob did think that we did XT 25-man hard mode.
Right?
True.
You know, come on.
True.
We did XT hard mode really pretty easily, one shot that. We did Iron Council hard mode, which I think we had done in 10-man before. It seems pretty easy in 10-man. Then we did Hodir hard mode with 5 seconds to spare. Easy.
Actually, more like 10 seconds for the record, because while it's supposed to be 2 minutes, there's like, if he's like casting something, he waits a second, and then there's like an animation. So I've seen like 2:05 be hard mode kills.
All right.
That's what happened with Fusion, one of their raid groups, the first time.
Yeah, so we did Hodir and Thorum, and then we got to Freya. We wiped once. It was like a really early wipe. Like we're trying to figure out how we were gonna do the like stun and pushback, and it did not go well the first time, and just immediately annihilated everybody. I think there was one person alive, and we were like, okay, yeah, let's try that again. All right. I think we had too much damage, like too much AoE damage, that they just died so quickly that our stun and knockback was like when they were at 1%, and then they blew up on everybody, and we were like, oh, okay. But we went in and killed Freya hard mode, and that was pretty easy. Then we went to Mimron. Oh my god. First of all, we went in there and we were like, nobody's really looked at like what this is going to look like, right? Like everybody had done some general research, right? We knew about the fire, we knew about other things, but probably aside from Harskar and maybe a couple other people. Okay, maybe just me, but I didn't know.
No, I think most people thought that the fires were the only new mechanic. Like I think some people go in being like, yeah, you have to cut around fires.
Right. And then it was like there was a lot of mechanics that were similar but different. Like there's like this napalm bomb that like gets shot at somebody and does a lot of damage, and then a dot damage, And I
yeah,
think
it's on the
that leaves
ground.
Fire,
It's
but I
kind
think
of
that leaves fire.
It's not fire. It's like this red, like
No, that's different.
oh well,
Like
that's the hardest
pretty
stuff
sure.
to see. Like this red glow on the ground. I think that's the napalm.
That's not hard for me to see. Maybe because you're in melee and you've got like DKs putting their stupid red stuff out there too. Yeah. Out in the range, not hard to see at all. If you get hit by it out in the range, you're really an idiot. The napalm bomb, and I probably did get hit by it. I'm just saying.
Damn, Mel, throwing the
I felt like an
shade.
idiot.
Yeah, gosh.
But
I got hit by it every attempt. I was getting hit by it. No, I feel bad.
Well, I'm just saying.
I don't think anybody could die more than our boy LZ on that. He was dying like I guess we're going to talk about our 10 man. But we had someone that was dying like every pull, and that was LZ on their 10 man. And I'm not talking smack on him. He's got like all 99 parts. This dude's a gamer, but he was definitely getting picked on.
He was getting picked on by Memron for sure. But there was a lot of different things going on. And when you have 10 people, and you have 2 healers, one person goes to the other side, and then there's like this fire maze of things that you can't get through, right? Like, I swear to God, it took me like 10 minutes to get around. And by the time I get around to somebody on the other side, they're dead. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know what to do about that.
You can run through the fire. And if you're a rogue and you have sprint or an engineer with boots, you can get through the fire without taking one tick, as long as it's one line, just one line of fire. And I don't know what I never ran through it normal, but I'm assuming you'd only take one tick.
Yeah, I ran through it a couple of times when there was no other option. Like, I was in this little hole in the middle of this circle of fire, and I was like, okay, I gotta get out of here. But I think one of the big things we did is we started to group up, and we group up at the beginning, and then we'd all run the same way, right? Because that's what was killing us initially, was that we were splitting which way we were running. And even if you split both healers, one going right and one going left, like there was a time, I think, where LZ was right next to me. And we both got hit by the napalm bomb. And it does so much damage. And it's like tick, 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 right? And so I'm trying to heal myself, and I could not heal LZ at all. Like, I was spam healing myself, and I was at like 2% health most of the time. And I think somebody pointed out, there like, LZ was right next to you when he died. And I'm like, okay, well, I felt like I was priority in that situation, and I healed myself. And I'm sorry, LZ, but you guys would have wiped if I would have died too. But yeah, I think that was our biggest thing, is that we had to spread out enough, but not too much, because you didn't want 2 people to get the ticking dot, but you also needed to be in range of all your healers. And if a healer got the ticking dot, the other healer could cover either the rest of the raid heals or help heal them. So that, I think, was our biggest thing. And then going into phase 2, we would try to group up before going into phase 2 to try to control the fire a little bit better. And I think that helped a lot with the start of phase 2 and moving in to the rest of the fight. But it's just chaos. Like, I feel like it's one of those fights, there's fights where you like get it down and you're like, oh, we're going to have that easy peasy every time, right? This was a fight that I could honestly say next time we go in will probably be just as chaotic and like, what's happening?
Yeah, I was watching but not listening, and I remember thinking I was shocked that you guys got it.
Yeah.
I was looking over and I was like, oh my God, that looks insane. They are just getting destroyed.
Dude, for melee DPS, I feel oftentimes so worthless in that fight, and you have to decide what you need to do, especially in phase 3, where all the bots are all over the place. And we tried some different things. I was originally starting the fight out because in our 10 man that we did, I guess, Yip, do you want to talk about any of those fights with our?
Yeah, we can talk about our Memoron, because we also wanted to get our key. I don't think there's any other major. We didn't do Flame Leviathan.
Yeah, we had
XT and Iron Council are like in a pumper group that's doing 25 man every week. I feel like they're really manageable right now. I think the big thing is it takes 2 strong heals in order to get through both of those fights, honestly. that's probably where you're mostly going to be struggling, is the healing side of those fights. But we had Stoof and Jasmine.
We did
in our defense,
we did
though.
Memron. This is one thing to say though. We did on Memron. We had
you had Mira
go
switch to
heals.
Yeah.
So we did finally switch to having a third heal, and it did help a lot.
I was going to say real quick that our Flame Leviathan we didn't do in the 10-man was kind of unfair because I was the only person in the group who had ever done the Demolisher job, and we kind of threw it on someone who hadn't thought he was ever going to do it or researched any of it and was trying to learn on the fly. So that was,
foot to the fire.
We were kind of damned from the beginning, and everybody had the giggles pretty hard. We had someone not show up, had to fill with someone else from the guild, but that was all I was gonna say.
There's sort of a way that raids start where things are going to be a little wonky when it's raid time and you have 8 out of 10 people and someone pops into Discord and says they're coming home and we'll be there soon, and you're just like, okay. let's mentally prepare.
You're not supposed to get off at raid time. You're supposed to be home at raid time.
But obviously, I think we obviously could have done Flame Leviathan, but it could have been 3 more pulls or something like that. And there's no reason as far as unlocking Algalon to kill Flame Leviathan. And I think the only real upgrade was Bob's throwing weapon. So, we all took a secret vote and voted Bob off the island. Yeah, I mean, especially the more we do it in 25, man, it's going to get easier and easier. And then just the more time we have and the faster we can get through stuff. The thing I'm struggling with most is just, if you want to prog on some of these 10-man hard modes, it might be a 4 or 5 hour night in 10-man.
Right.
Coming off of 25 mans, that can definitely be a lot. But for Memron,
we spent a good hour on Memron.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no doubt. For our Memron, we wanted it. We didn't come super prepared to do Memron, but that was definitely the one that was going to be the hard one to overcome, and we figured we'd see how we do. We did better than I thought we would do with basically no preparation. We stole some of the tactics, like having a third healer. I think it took us maybe 1 or 2 wipes to realize we needed that third healer.
Yeah.
Grouping up at the beginning to engage Flame Leviathan to pull those flames. It took us a couple of wipes because people were just dying in the first phase, but I think we got the first phase down after a couple pulls. But if you had people die in that first phase, it just made everything a million times tougher because people were almost guaranteed to die at some point later, and you want everyone up as long as you possibly can. Phase 2,
and in 10-man, when you lose one person, it's so much more impactful.
Yeah, it's 10% of your raid, and it's even a bigger percentage of your DPS. So it does make a really big difference. And if it's a healer, then you're in some serious trouble. I was surprised at how well phase 2 went. The issues we had were melee not being able to attack because of flames going through the boss. So our flame management was sort of horrible, but for some reason, we were able to stay alive a really long time. We would lose 2 DPS, be at 8 people, and be on phase 2 for minutes and minutes, and we just wouldn't
really
lose anybody else.
We had really good heals.
That it was oh wow, it kind of felt like we can do whatever.
We were in phase 2 forever, and I did come super prepared. I watched a bunch of videos. I watched all of the Mel's group's prog, every minute of it. And I was super prepared, but I was the weakest link. I didn't die a ton, but I was not doing enough damage. And I was running around, not doing I wasn't in phase 3. I wasn't prioritizing stuff right, or something was just wrong, and it was bad. I started out assassination, but then we decided a few polls later that I should maybe have crippling poison on it, just to let anybody know that if you have an assassination rogue in your group and they can't switch to combat, having them switch either of their poisons kind of destroys any DPS they can do, because they need deadly to actually do their rotation, and then they need instant because it's the majority of their damage, period. So you can't really ask them to switch. So I swapped over to combat, and then I had, I had crippling on the offhand, but it, that hurt my damage still more, but definitely not as much as it would hurt an assassination rogue. But like, I wasn't prioritizing stuff right. And I felt so prepared walking in and just felt so bad about my my performance when it came to it, so.
Yeah, I was personally surprised at how difficult it was to like pull flames where you wanted. So like on phase 2, I wanted to pull flames away to help with I think just Jasmine was focusing on flames prior to that, but it felt like it was there's no point. Like I was just standing there doing nothing, slowly dragging these flames around.
Come on, this way, guys.
And it's like maybe I should just be on the maybe we should all just be zerging and just trying to move away as much as we can, because there are mechanics that will get rid of those flames. So like we'd be cutting the flames around away from melee, and then he'd do his little bomb thing that extinguishes them around him, and we're like, oh well, okay, I guess we didn't need to cut flames away. Then.
Yep.
Such a great moment of relief, though. Like, I feel like things are so chaotic, and then he blows all the flames away, and you're like, oh,
thank you.
I can breathe for half a second.
But honestly, it really wasn't too bad. It was really coming down to a time thing again. And then probably just like, as well as like the base strategy could probably use some improvement as far as like what to do in phase 3 and prioritization. Because it definitely wasn't just Bob struggling with like, what do I do now? There's a million flames. There's a million bots piling up. I think having a hunter do the bomb bot cheese would make life super easy. So hunter pets can stay on the head of Mimron and just automatically blow up bomb bots at its feet when they come out. I think that would have made a big difference, because we were definitely losing some range to bomb bots. And I think we made it to the last phase like once, but with just too many people dead. But it seemed very doable. Like we could overcome it.
We made it to the last phase once, and like you said during the raid, if we hadn't just got an extra assault bot right a second before we went into phase 3, and we still had one that was like a 4th or 6th health up.
We had what I would call an extra one already. Like we had to kill one going into the next phase. But then for some reason, like one also still decided to spawn after the fact that Mimron's head was dead, and we already were down a couple DPS. So it was just really tough, and I think we could have had a strong chance if that assault bot didn't come up. But assault bots are pretty mean, even on 10-man mode. So it was tough there. I think that we can definitely get to that point, but the more we work through the kinks on 25-man, I think the easier that kind of trickles down into the 10-man mode.
For sure.
But so those were the 10-mans. The chronological order doesn't quite make sense here. But on Thursday, we went back with Mimron, Vezix, and Yogg 25, and this was after Mimron was killed in your 10-man Mel. So we had plenty of time, 2.5 hours, 3 bosses. We said, hey, let's send a couple of attempts on 25-man mode just so more people can get comfortable with it and see it. And boy, is 25-man mode, that was an even bigger...
wow. Yeah.
That was bad. That was a very
chaos.
A ton of damage on the tank, first of all. Almost got destroyed even with tank cooldowns on the plasma blasts. And then, it's just, it's very chaotic. And even having 2 people focusing on flames were still just rampant everywhere. And obviously, some of that is just most of the raid hadn't seen the fight yet. So I think maybe we'll tackle it again. But I don't think we even got past phase 2 in our 25-man.
No, we only gave it 2 attempts, though.
Yeah, we definitely were not giving a lot of effort into getting it down. We just wanted to see it.
Right.
What about you, Go? Have you guys done any 10 or 25-man tries on Mim Hard?
25? No. We just started doing 10 this week, and I think we had 2 groups in there. And we had just over an hour for ours on last night. And we had 11 attempts. I don't think we got close really at all. We got to phase 3 a bunch of times, but there's so much going on in that fight. I didn't do my due diligence to prep for my positioning, and I was always like Mel would have been yelling at me if I was in your guys' raid because I'm the range that's going across the map out of range.
Oh my
from the
god!
healers. They're like, you're on the opposite side of the map. What are you doing? But our raid lead's like, not like specifically calling out. He's like, he was healing, and he was just like, there's ranged across the map for me. I can't reach you. And I was like looking around like, oh yeah, there's nobody near me. So I
feel like
I'm the only one.
I feel like I do that
like,
too.
Chuckle, I can't reach you. You're going to die. Like, or like, LZ, you're there. I don't know where you are. I can't, you're not in my range.
I feel like that's just a human response. Cause on Yogg, I'll be like, I'm just going to go over here to this tentacle, and I'm like, that's so dumb. I need to stay with the group. Like, what are you doing, Bob? Like, what if you get a tentacle that grabs you, and like it's just something in your brain. And LZ does it a bunch too, where he just gets over to his own area, and like humanly you feel like that's a safer place because there's not as much going on, but it's really not, because you're ranging everybody who can help you.
That's how situations of raid blame always become very confused, because it's like Bob can easily be like, why are no healers on the other side where the tentacles are up there? And then it's also like, Bob, if there's no healers over there, if you go over there, you're gonna die. Like, it's a feedback loop of just like, sometimes we wipe and it's like, listen, I don't know who needs to fix it, but
I think
that happened.
I think I'm getting better at that because of doing the role of tank, because I'm always, when I'm main tanking, I'm like starting to walk off, and I like look back and I'm like, are you guys coming? Are you like, I'm just like, I can't go without you.
I mean, there's something to be said. There's something to be said about the fact that like professional tanks have moved into other games like pretty well. Like tanks moved into Overwatch when it came out and performed well, just because there's a level of like game sense that you just end up building. Like, what's going on around you, and you have that sensibility, which just ends up like improving your gameplay a lot.
Yeah, we ended up putting markers on both of our healers, and I think that helped a lot. It was like, if you're not getting healed, find a diamond or a star and make sure they're next to you, right? And one thing I will say is every attempt we did on Memron, and not every attempt, but most of the attempts, we felt a little more confident, like we were understanding. It was chaos, but we were kind of understanding, like, oh, okay, we need to run around this way, or we need to really heal these people when they get this debuff. And I'll just close it out with, we ended on our 9th pull. We killed Memron hard mode, and everybody was alive.
Wow, incredible. I mean, I think if you go into the last phase with everyone alive, you're pretty much good to go. There's a frost bomb, but there's no additional mechanics other than the frost bomb for that last phase, I think, other than the fire. So there is like, it's very, very doable if you get there, but bringing everyone alive at the end is the hard part.
I think that's the only reason we killed him, is because we had everyone.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that's really awesome. I'm glad some of us were able to see it and get it down. I definitely would have kept pushing. We always do this thing, and I'm sure most raids feel this. And pretty much anytime you practice anything, this might just be like a philosophy of practice. You start getting worse. I like to call it regression rating, where like. Yeah. Our progress on Memron was getting better and better, but then once it got worse, I was like, all right, it's time to move on. Like once we are getting worse, let's just come another time.
And I think that's why, all right, guys, this is the last poll, works so well, because people, even if they do it unintentionally, that's not the word I'm looking for, but like subconsciously, people will be like, okay, I can focus in for one more time. I'm going to give it everything I have, and I think that's why that is so famous for guilds across the world. I'm sure everybody can, relate to this, is that when you do that, all right, guys, last pull, oftentimes that's when you finally get it, because people use the last bit of whatever they have. This is what I think.
I mean, our second pull, we got to phase 4.
Oh, wow.
And then...
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, focusing is a really big thing, and I think it's something that was like very apparent in 40-man raids and vanilla, but just like the thoughts and attitude of the raid affects that raid so much. Like, how many times we go into BWL feeling like it was going to be a bad raid night, and then we're wiping in BWL and it is a bad raid night? Because like, you have 40 people who are all focusing 20% less, and it adds up to a way worse raid.
Oh, and then in vanilla, it was even worse because it was compounded by. I remember specifically just, I can't talk about everybody else, but I remember me early on, Gazek would not tell anybody he was gonna take this without a shield. He would take all of our world buffs, and like that would sour the entire raid for the entire
losing
night.
World buffs early, it definitely did. But yeah, so Mimiron, 25 man, it'll come. I think we're probably 2 weeks away from feeling like we're in a rush for Algalon. We've been making like steady progress every week, which I think is, most people are satiated by steady progress. It's only when we're not doing anything. Yeah, it's more fun. And this is going to be a long phase. I kind of cherish this time as opposed to like us having everything on farm week 2.
Yeah.
Doing the same thing over and over again.
So at the top of the show, Go and I talked about it, and like, Fusion has like great progress, right? But what people don't seem to think about is they spent like 20 to 30 hours on Algalon alone in the PTR. Like, did we want to do that? No, we didn't. You know what I mean? Like, so, it's like you get what you get. I think we're doing awesome for 5 hours a week, sometimes a little more, but basically 5 hours a week. And we're getting to do new stuff every week. I think we're the ones actually winning.
Yeah, we're winning. On that note of winning, though, just to finish out our raid, we then lost horribly as we wiped over and over again to Vezix. That fight.
Oh my God.
Wait. Oh, yeah. Our 10-man.
No, our 25-man.
Our 25-man, yeah.
Oh.
Our 25-man was a slog after Mimiron.
Yeah.
We got pounded into the ground. So this was the first problem. Was problem number 1 is that one of our warlocks' weak auras was saying that Shadow Crash was on him after the Shadow Crash was like coming out and would automatically hit people if they hadn't moved yet. So every time that happened, especially when the Animus was up, people were just getting owned by the Shadow Crash and wiping us, or just taking too much damage, and it was like a compounding issue. But especially during that Animus phase, we ended up wiping because of that sometimes. There were a couple other problems that I can barely even remember at this point.
Killing Serenite.
Oh, we killed Serenite once, another warlock.
We're not going to name names, but this warlock also did it the night before in Mel's 10-man raid. And then he did it again in our 25-man raid. But even worse, in the 25-man raid, we didn't notice until the Animus was supposed to come out.
It's so funny to me because it pukes up the green sludge on the ground, and just nobody saw it.
It had happened so early that the green sludge was gone. I looked everywhere, and there was
it
nothing.
Had already even happened.
Yeah,
I was looking around.
We just went.
It was pretty crazy.
We just went through the whole fight, not even knowing, and then we had to wipe when he's at like 5%, and no Animus is there. We're just like, are you kidding me right now?
Now, as a tank, there's like a brain share required to tank. That is a extremely long fight. It's like 6 minutes or something. And it's super easy, but I run out of mana the whole time, which is very frustrating. He doesn't hit me anymore. I don't know. I need to like change out my gear set because my avoidance is so high. I just am not getting any mana back from spiritual attunement, which is when I get healed. I get mana back. But there's just strings of time where I'm not taking any damage. And I'm just sitting there like I can only hit one ability, and then that's crazy. But the reason I hate that fight is you have like a minute of doing nothing, and then you need a cooldown or you're gonna die.
Yeah.
So the whole time you have to pay attention and not zone out and just do your rotation. Most long fights, I can just stand there like zen out in my rotation, but I need to actually watch for when this thing's coming out, call who's gonna do what, and then do it. So it's just kind of an annoying fight.
Well,
and doing it once is fine, but how many times did you do it? Like 4 times, 5 times?
did it a lot, and then like
4 wipes,
and
then a kill.
I haven't done it on my warrior tanking on hard mode, but I think the warriors just built way better for that fight because shield blocks good, and like when I gain a lot of rage when I block doing damage, I gain a lot of rage, like so I'm just rage capped the entire fight. Like what do I spend
more like
on?
An anti-paladin. Like having a fight where you can't regen mana and having a tank that relies on mana is definitely counterintuitive.
I mean, I'll take the win wherever warrior tanks can get it, you know. But
it's not. Luckily, with the hard mode though, the threat isn't an issue anymore because we don't have people just blasting anymore. We just like one side fights at a time, and then it really helps with our mana, and we were able to get to the animus phase like no problem.
See, in normal mode, I tricks the main tank on cooldown just because of that. But now in the hard mode, I've like, I don't need to do that anymore. I can't tricks casters because they're too far, but I can just tricks a melee DPS that's next to me, and it's super easy. Like, I don't ever have to move to go throw it on them or anything. Like, it's just great.
But the issue with that taking up so much brain share of tanking is that Yogg is the most frustrating tank fight in the game so far. It's just insane. And
the final mode is so tough for me.
But that first phase is like, there's something that range DPS just like, I don't know why they don't intuit this, but if like, let's say I Hand of Reckoning something very far away and it has to come to me, they blast during that phase of running to me. So that like, as soon as Hand of Reckoning drops, it switches targets again. So it's like
do not touch it until it's touching me, please.
I know. It ends up being so crazy because it's just like, what is the point of this? Why?
Like it's like I'll wait to use my taunt on him Yogg. Like I'll let the off tank Patley do it first, and then knowing that the DPS are going to pull off, I wait until it's almost to us, then it runs off, and then I taunt. You know, it's like we have to use 2 taunts to get this guy to us, and it's like, dudes, this could be so much easier if you just don't do that. But parse brain.
Yeah, it is. It definitely can be frustrating. But this week we one-shot Yogg. Yogg won. It was a little sloppy, but I can't complain with a one-shot.
Harskar was like, didn't want to do XT because he was that's why we were kind of didn't know if we wanted to do Flame Leviathan or XT because he was like, well, I don't know. You know, I'm not fully comfortable with Yogg 1 yet. With our 25, we've only dropped it once. And then we end up spending the majority of the time on Vesix. And it's just like, and then one-shot Yogg. It's like, you can't plan for it. You can't plan.
You just can't plan for it. I mean, I think... I'm trying to remember if our Yogg was definitely sloppy. I can't remember like too many specifics, but I do remember thinking like, we're failing hard. I think like it's tough because we do so many Yoggs. I just did a different Yogg 10 last night.
I know, right?
Which also went wrong, but it definitely wasn't perfect, and Insanity was close. I remember now. Mira and Alex, I think, both had 2 Insanity at the end.
Yeah.
Had 2 Sanity. So we were really tight on the Sanity. But yeah, I mean, we ended up one-shotting, which I really can't complain about. If we can one-shot Vesix, which normally I don't think Vesix is really that much harder on hard mode than normal mode.
The last 2 weeks we've just like we've been fine, right?
Yeah. I get, things happen.
Yep. But
what are you gonna do?
Just to end us out real quick, Mel, do you want to just talk your group did go back after raid Thursday night and go ahead and give Algalon your hour of attempts. Did you want to just talk about that real quick?
No, not at all. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, we went in. Honestly, like we went in, we knew a little bit about the fight. It was mainly just to get some pulls and, some experience in the fight.
Because that's when you actually learn. Once you've seen the fight, then you can actually watch videos and things make sense. Whereas, at least for me, watching the video prior doesn't make sense until I do the fight, and then it makes sense, right?
Yeah, it's hard to start learning a fight until you've seen it.
Yeah. So we went in. It was fine. I think, and I don't think we have logs for this, but I'm pretty sure the first pull we just all died. Just like instantly died. We had somebody working on sparks, and then there's a lot of damage. And Mira was our second tank, and the amount of damage that Mira was taking was insane. Like, honestly, like it was almost unhealable.
It's kind of the way that druids are built, though, right? Although I don't know if he had his specific tank spec, but they're built for a lot of stamina and like to take huge hits rather than they just have a ton more stamina, so they can take huge hits rather than mitigate.
When a huge hit come every like half a second,
yeah,
it is a lot.
Very difficult. So we ended up him starting tank. After a couple of wipes, we had him start tanking. So he would start tanking with bark skin. As soon as his bark skin would run off, I'd pain sup him, and then he could get up to 2 stacks, and then or 3 stacks, I don't remember, and then Fab would taunt off. And Fab took a lot of damage, but not nearly as much as Mira. We were having trouble timing I think they're sparks or stars or whatever they are. We had trouble timing them when they would explode, because they explode when they die, right? And so initially, I think we were killing them too quickly, and then we were not killing them fast enough. So by the time we went into the next part of it, it was like too many. But I think that's something that we talked about. Like, we weren't sure what the best timing on those would be, but they do a lot of raid damage. One thing I want to know is why can't we take the sparks on the other side? Because the number of times that a spark exploded on me and I fell into a deep abyss of a black hole or something, it happened twice. Okay. But I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know what happened there, but we got to I don't know what phase it is, but because I think there's only 2 phases, right?
I actually haven't, I haven't even been close, so I haven't really looked into Algalon at all, I'll be honest.
Only you know, Mel. You're the resident expert here.
God.
I also do see that Mira was taking, and it's hard to tell because I don't know what polls look like. But
do you have logs for it?
Yeah, there's some logs for it under the guild logs. Chuck will put them up. But Fab was taking 2,500 damage taken per second, and Lil Cat was taking 4,400 damage taken per second. So it might just be because of who was hanging first, but that's a pretty big swing.
No, because that was the same thing that happened when he was tanking second. It's like he would come up and we'd be like, whoa, what just happened? Like, we were healing Fab and everything was going great, and then Mira would take it and we'd be like, okay, that's not gonna work.
Yeah, I wonder if in 10-man you might bring in a different, because it's crazy because a lot of the fights are really good if you have a extra DPS instead of 2 tanks, but then you kind of want a really geared tank for that second tank on that fight, right?
Yeah, for sure. And Mira, I mean, he's not usually a tank, so he does fine as tanking. It was just Algalon hits very, very hard. So we would get into the second part of phase 1, I guess is what it is. And it you have to be in the little void zones, which you would think you avoid, but you have to go in those and you have to go in them at a certain time. Now, let me tell you, there's no grace period to this time, because the first time we did it, it was like, all right, everybody head towards the portals or the void zones, and everybody starts walking over there, and like, boom, everybody's dead. Like, it just killed us all instantly. Like, okay, that wasn't it. Okay, well, maybe we do that a little bit earlier next time. So we did that. I think the best we got, I think, was about 54%. And we did it about 11 times in an hour, because we only had an hour. We did find out, like, our warlocks were running really low on shards towards the end, which I don't know if they just need to bring more shards, but
yeah, I think there's a cap or something now of how many shards you can take, or I heard someone complain about that, but shards are definitely easier to make now. If you do the glyph, you can make them on a target dummy, whereas in TBC, it was a bitch to get shards before raid. I spent 30 minutes prior to raid making shards every day, or every day we raided, and I hated it.
Well, and we had 2 soul stones. Doesn't a soul stone take a shard?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had 2 soul stones every time. We probably could have just ran with 1 and like alternated, and that probably would have saved a decent amount of shards, right? But we got a lot of attempts in. I think the damage, it definitely seemed doable, right? I think there was some things we did wrong. There were some people, let us know that if we had tanked it along the wall, it would have been better, because we were taking it like right in the middle. And I think if you tank it along the wall, it is a little bit easier. And then I think somebody said maybe we should have 3 healers. I don't remember if that was Algalon. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It didn't go great, but it didn't go horribly.
Yeah, I definitely would see you guys die around 50% multiple times. So you're able to get it to that range, and then immediately everything would go wrong. But
that was
pulls, 11 pulls isn't bad. I don't know if I'd want to do much more than that.
Yeah, I kind of like the timer, right?
Yeah. Keeps you focused for that time, and then you call it a day. But we have 2 keys now, so we'll maybe have 2 groups trying out Algalon next week. If that is the case, I think that'll be pretty exciting, and see how far we can get in there.
Yeah, I think definitely looking at the tanks for at least one of the runs and trying to make sure that we've got 2 people. And I don't know if it's just a druid thing. I don't know how much tank gear Mira has. I mean, he does fine on every other boss. I think Algalon's just different.
Yeah, Algalon is a very tank gear intensive fight. So if you're not like pissed out, I can definitely see having problems. And again, we're not hitting every hard mode and every 10 man every week. So there is a lot of gear that we're missing that a lot of people would normally bring into Algalon 10. Like, we're just now hitting that point to get into Algalon. So, a couple more weeks of gear will round out some of that. And then, gearing up off tanks with some biz gear will make a difference.
Yeah. I think we had the DPS to do it, though. I think it was just the mechanics and the other things, I think, holding us back a little bit.
Yeah, I think we could really start to min-max 10 mans, depending on signups. Like, there's people like me, like, if for some reason 1 week I don't have to main tank a 10 man, maybe you bring me in to off tank as like basically a second main tank gear wise, right? So you could maybe, cheese it a little bit like the big guilds do.
Yeah, for sure. But either way, I think we'll get it down in the next couple of weeks.
Yep. Woo-hoo. All right. Well, guys, that's going to round us out. I'm not going to do, just because of the timing of the stuff, I do have some more add-ons of the week, but I'm not going to do it this week. I'm just going to close us out. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at WC Reloaded. You can follow the Mash Those Buttons Network at the Mash Network. If you want to send us an email, the address is wcrpodcast@gmail.com. If you'd like to join the Mash Discord, you can do so by going to mash.gg/Discord. I'm going to try really hard to make our actual Discord this week. So hopefully I have that done. I'll let you know where it is by next week. How can you help us out? We need iTunes reviews. Those are just so rare some days. I guess I'm out of gold to pay people to leave reviews. So yeah, give us some of those. Spotify stars, likes, subs, shares help. Tell your guild about us. Also, leave us. We don't have as many voicemails coming in. Give us some more of those. Those are a good time. And then you can go, and we've had more activity on the Patreon as of late. If you want ad-free episodes, or the early access ones, you can get that at patreon.com/Warcraft Reloaded. All right, Mel, where can we find you?
You can find me on Benediction.
Okay, I'm just going to stop asking you. All right, go. Where can we find you?
On Mancrick.
Oh, you bastard.
No, no, you can find me on YouTube. Just search for like Classic WoW Boomkin, or my handle is Classic Go, but it's GHO, not just GO. So Classic Go. And yeah, I don't really stream on Twitch that much, mainly on YouTube though. So I make YouTube videos and stream on YouTube.
Awesome. And Yip, where can we find you?
Hi, you can find me on YouTube and Twitch and Twitter at TheYipShow, full-time Dark and Darker content creator.
I want you to stream raids, dang it.
I'll once I'm on permanent good internet, I'll start streaming more.
Awesome.
In order to bolster my Dark and Darker career.
Sounds good. All right, well, that's going to do it. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Hey.
Thank you very much for checking out Warcraft Reloaded podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss any future content.